82% of sales and marketing professionals lose up to an hour a day managing different tools. So back to the inefficiency and just how this is real. It's happening. 75% of marketers spend an hour a day analyzing data from different technologies. So that's 2 hours a day, right? Apparently. And 45% of marketers feel frustrated with monitoring and maintaining different tools. So it's a thing.
Welcome to the Magnificent Marketing Podcast, where we interview the top marketing experts in the world to keep you up to date on all the changes and best practices to help you grow your business and stay on the cutting edge. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with Lindsay Tjepkema, and Lindsay is the global head of content for Emarsys, an AI-enabled marketing platform that empowers B2C marketers to deliver more personalized and relevant brand experience to their customers across multiple channels at scale, all while focusing on the strategy, content, and creative aspects of their campaign, not the technology. Lindsay and her team of content marketing rock stars run the global content strategy for the company, providing tools and resources that help marketers around the world leverage, but not obsess about technology to be more effective and happy in their roles. When Lindsay is not striving for marketing mastery at Emarsys, she's working to master multitasking at home in Indianapolis with her 3 young boys, including twins, and her husband. And today we are going to be talking about, if content is king, why are marketers bowing down to tech? Lindsay, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome.
Very much.
And I'm very happy I got your pronunciation right.
Not many people do. You're among the critical few who have gotten it right.
Well, it's tough. It's tough. Well, I'm super excited to talk to you because, multiple reasons, but one, we all, I think, are guilty of bowing down to tech. I'd say, especially 5, 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, all the automations and and all this stuff. Now we have AI, we have all this stuff, and you start just kind of chasing, almost like a dog running around chasing its tail. It feels like sometimes, right?
It's true.
But you need technology.
Absolutely.
You do, but you also cannot bow down and cater to it. I did a podcast with Jay Kunzo, and his whole thing is like, stop. Think. And that's where we're turning. But again, you can't ignore technology because it can be such massive time savers.
For sure.
Right? So excited to talk to you. But before we get into all the details and everything, would love for you to share why you feel that some marketers have looked at technology as more of a purpose versus looking at technology as the means. What have you seen happening out there?
For sure. And I mean, first and foremost, Emarsys, the company that I work for, is a tech company. And my career is largely in tech. I love tech. So this is absolutely not anything about, hey, we don't need tech.
Oh, no.
Not at all. But what I've seen in my own career over the last 15 years is, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago before we were trusting our gut. Right. And we were looking at examples of what the other big brands were doing and getting inspired and just saying, let's try that. And living very much in that mentality of, there's that old quote from, I don't even remember when, but I know that 50% of my advertising isn't working. I just don't know which 50%.
Yeah.
And that doesn't fly anymore. I mean, that hasn't flied in a very long time. And over time, we've gotten access to more and more data. As more technologies become available, more technology has made it possible to follow our customers around and to understand what their behaviors are and what their preferences are and what their purchasing habits are. And that's fantastic. But with all of that technology and with all of that data has become has changed the marketer's role, so that I'm actually hearing in podcasts all the time. I consume a ton of marketing content, surprise, surprise. And I actually hear, people saying, the role of the marketer is becoming more of a data scientist. We should become more like data scientists and more technologists. And, I disagree with that, because if we are to be the data scientists and the technologists, then what are we getting all this technology for? Also I hear all the time people talking about their tech stacks, these huge, massive, the more complex and more towering the tech stack is, it almost feels like the better. And the more complicated your tech stack is, it's almost like a badge of honor. Well, I've got this, tool over here, and then I integrate it with that over there, and then I pull the data from this over here, and I put it in this spreadsheet, and then we analyze it over here. And that takes the role of the marketer. Again, we're shifting the role from marketer to data scientist and also integration manager, right? So just pressure on marketers to do everything that we did before, all that strategy, all that content creative, but also manage all this technology and try to use every single bit of data. It's overwhelming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what I see happening. As a marketer myself, I have felt it. And now marketing technology to marketers here at Emarsys, I see it too. And I think that there's definitely that pull that marketers feel to be so data centric that they get overwhelmed. They're like, well, obviously I need more technology to help me do that. And I think the right technology helps you say, okay, I'm going to hand off these things to the tech, and so that I can use the more human elements of my role as a marketer to focus on that strategy, that content, and that creative.
I hear you. Why do you think this happened? How did this get to this point?
Well, I think like I mentioned, I think it's data, which is something that we all love. I mean, again, here in my role here at Emarsys, we love data. We love it, love it, love it. And I think all marketers should. But I think as that became more available to us, it's created expectations of, well, we have the data, we should use it. Well, if we're going to use it, how can we use it? Because as we say here, human-driven personalization does not scale. There's no way that we can go into all that data manually and say, okay, I'm going to figure out person by person who likes, what each individual's preferences are, and I'm going to cater to them and I'm going to serve them. It's just not possible. Even for small companies, even if you have a database of 100 people, that's just not scalable. So yet in contrast to that, consumer expectations have evolved. And Jay Baer, actually at an event that we had a couple of months ago, and more recently in some of the things that I've heard him speak about, he has used this, given this example that some of the global brands, the brands that we all look to for customer experience, like Zappos, has set the bar, and no longer is it acceptable to anyone, to us as consumers or to us as marketers, to say, well, that was a really great experience for a healthcare company, or that was a really, really great experience for a bank. I mean, nobody's going to give you that slack anymore.
What's the risk here? Because I really want to drive home before we kind of get into what we should do. I kind of have my opinions on what the risk is. In fact, I've experienced what I feel like are the negative results of the risk of doing this.
Right.
And had to, we overcorrected, and then now I guess we're correcting the overcorrection. So, but in your opinion, what is the main risk that marketers and companies fall into for the technology trap, so to speak?
Sure. So as we add, so we're feeling the pressure. We see all the data. We see how much we're not using it. We see the customer expectations and how we feel like we're not meeting them, at least not to the extent that we could. That doesn't feel great, right? So then what do? We go out and we search for help. And the great thing is that there's tons of help available right now. I think one of the stats, we're actually putting together a white paper on this whole concept right now. And I think one of the stats that we just pulled is I think there was 5,000 companies in like the marketing technology space that emerged last year. I probably have those numbers slightly off, but
wow.
The bottom line is
still.
Still. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons and tons of point solutions and little tools here and little add-ons there that just incrementally, they're either free or they're cheap or just incrementally add on to your tech stack, right? And it feels like, oh, here's a little solution for this, and here's a little solution for that. And that feels great at the moment because you have a little problem solved. But again, to your risk, you're not taking that step back and saying, what's my bigger issue? Let's think about customer experience and how we're serving our customers and how we're delivering personalized, meaningful experiences holistically. Not even just me as a marketer, but my whole team, or as a marketing leader, not
exactly
just
exactly right.
Right. And so, and then on
top, I love that you're saying that.
Right. So, our tech stack's bad? No. Is technology bad? Absolutely not. It's when you try to build a tower out of crumbs, right? And try to just build it up. And then eventually that creates a few things. So you have what we talked about earlier, the marketer turns into an integration manager. It's not efficient because when you're taking from here and putting in there and exporting from here and analyzing there and running the numbers there, and then you have to compile the data here, and what's your source of truth, first of all? And what marketer wants to spend their whole day managing integrations? right? It's not efficient, and it's not using your team as a marketing leader. You're not using your team to their full potential, because
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but I'm not hiring people to manage technology. I'm hiring people to be creative and strategic and create meaningful experiences, right? So that's one, it's inefficient. Two, it's expensive. So again, while the tools, the little itty bitty, point solutions, they might feel like good solutions because they're a little bit here and a little bit there, and a little monthly rate here and a one-time annual fee there. But if you take a step back, I feel like most marketing leaders would be pretty surprised at how much they're actually spending holistically, probably on tools they don't even know their teams are using.
Yeah.
So it can add up. It can be very expensive. And three, which I think should really raise the eyebrows of marketing leaders, is that it introduces organizational risk. And in a time of data breaches and hacks, it's something that as marketers, we should realize that we do have control over.
Mm-hmm.
As we bring these technologies into the company, and we're all responsible for it. It's something that it's a term that I hadn't heard before. Somebody on my team found it, which is called shadow IT.
I was just about to ask you about that.
Yeah. So, and it's one of those things that, so again, we're all responsible for it. How many times have you, or probably not you, I'm sure you haven't done it, David, but anybody else that you might know, brought on a new technology that you're like, oh, this messaging app will be great. This storage app will be great.
You don't even know. You don't even know.
That's the thing, is that we all do. And at the moment, again, we're so under pressure, and we're so in a hurry to try to deliver those experiences and use the data and deliver the results, that we don't take a step back and say, has IT seen this?
Yeah.
Do we have another solution internally that has been vetted by IT that I should probably be using instead?
Mm-hmm.
How has this, is this secure? How is data being used on the other end? What are they learning about me and my company when I install this app? So, there's huge risk. It's inefficient. It can be expensive, and it introduces all kinds of risk that I'm sure marketers are completely blissfully unaware of until it becomes an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you. As far as the data breaches and stuff, I won't dig into that too much. Partly because that's probably
I'm not a data breach expert.
10 hours. Yeah, exactly. Neither am I. But it's something that I'm glad you pointed out, especially for really large organizations,
for sure.
Especially also on top of that with all the GDPR stuff going on and
for
all
sure.
that.
Mm-hmm.
One point, though, I'd like to circle back to that I love that you made is the lack or the diminishing creativity that comes with that tunnel vision of using these tools. Where we really have started preaching in talking about marketing as a function of a company and not of a department or a single person at all. And I think if you don't open it up and bring everybody in on the creative side, of which you can lose that visibility on, and the importance of it's the strategy and the creative is really everything.
Right.
That's not to put not to diminish the importance of execution.
Sure.
It's extremely important, and I know there's a lot of consultants out there, or marketing companies, or they appear to be marketing companies, really just like a consultant, like a one person, but they go in, and I found this out. I was like, well, they go in and they set up a plan ish, and they kind of teach it, and then they skip away. I'm like, how is that? That's so hard. You just left them with the hardest part. So I am in no means,
for sure.
But that's where the technology can come in and to help,
right.
And we'll get into that. But a big point to take is take a step back. Map out your flow and your strategy. Like, hey, what's the indicator? Where's the ultimate goal? Back up. Okay, what's the indicator for that? Okay, what's the indicator for that? Okay, what's the entry point? Okay, now let's fill in this with a bunch of cool shit for people, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, and then you're okay, then I'm assuming, and I'm gonna, you're an expert here. Then we can start plugging in the technology holes or the gaps. Be it automation. Hey, we need an automation sequence here, right?
Right.
That's technology. Hey, we need to track our keyword analysis. Okay, there's some technology needed there. And AI, that's coming. I mean, it's kind of here.
It's here.
It's here. I don't know if it's mainstream here yet, but it's here. But you're on top of it. It's going to be here. I think we did a podcast with Mitch Stroll, and he said, nothing happens and then everything happens all at once. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's coming, right? It's
For
coming.
sure.
We all know it's coming. It's here. And but so that's another, obviously deal. And then we'll figure that experience out. But I'm almost thinking you do that after, right?
Mhm.
Start filling in the blanks. So on that note, would love to move on and talk about identifying this, right? I kind of, set the stage, but I'm going to turn it back over to you, in my mind, how it is. But I would love for you to talk to how like business owners, marketing teams, companies, marketers can identify if their current marketing stack is actually solving the problems they need solved.
Mhm.
And maybe enlighten us on maybe some questions they should ask themselves, or
Sure.
maybe an exercise they can go through to identify, like take this out, and all of a sudden you might discover you have $2, $3, $4, $5, $10,000 to do on advertising, or hire somebody else to be creative, right? So can you help people walk us through maybe the questions people should ask themselves to identify where they might be having redundancy or whatever?
Sure. So I'll start off. I pulled this up on my screen here. Some numbers and
Well, here, let me, let's see here. Let's see if we can give you.
it's not very pretty.
Okay.
Just notes.
I'll let you talk it out.
Sure, I can read it out, and then I don't have the source here, but we have a source, so I can also make that available to you for show notes. But 82% of sales and marketing professionals lose up to an hour a day managing different tools. So back to the inefficiency and just how this is real. It's happening. 75% of marketers spend an hour a day analyzing data from different technologies. So that's 2 hours a day, right? Apparently. And 45% of marketers feel frustrated with monitoring and maintaining different tools. So it's a thing, that's,
oh, sure.
It's happening.
Those numbers seem low to me.
Yeah, I know. Everyone. So I think, one thing, speaking to marketing leaders, I think one of the first steps is saying, not is this happening, but to what extent is this happening? And knowing that it's happening everywhere. So no need to panic or, feel like you're doing something that nobody else is, because I think everyone is in this boat.
We're all dealing with this.
Exactly. But just realizing that it's an issue, realizing that it's probably causing inefficiencies in your team. It's probably costing you more than you think. And it's probably introducing risk to your company, especially if you're even a mid-size, even a small company, just to risks and breaches. So from that standpoint, I think it's really important for marketing leaders to know that they should begin building, if they haven't already, building relationships with their IT leader or IT department and just say, hey, this is this thing I've learned about. Just to be perfectly honest, I don't really know what it means. I don't know what it means to our company, but I want to be part of the solution, right? And just start building that relationship, because a lot of the reasons I think it happens is because the IT team is perceived by marketing and others is the process is too slow. Well, the process is slow because they're making sure that whatever you're asking doesn't introduce risk and it's going to be safe for the company. But maybe there are things that you can do on both sides to improve the process, to get faster, and to make sure that new technologies that are being introduced are right for the company. So that's one thing that marketers can do. I think another thing marketing leaders can do is try, and I say the word try because there's so many different technologies, but try to get your hands around all the different technologies that your team is using. I think that it's highly likely that many members of your teams have introduced their own. This little thing that they're using, this one person is using Trello to manage his own things, but the team is using, Jira, and this one team is using Planner. Try to get your hands around what everyone's using. Look for redundancies. For redundancies in cost for sure. And just start to say, what can we cross off? And yeah, it's going to be a little bit of sacrifice for some of us, but as a team, we can be better because we'll all be using the same things, and we'll all be more efficient because we can be working together, not in siloed technology sources. Mm-hmm. So I think that's another thing. And I think also is looking for ways to consolidate into fewer tools. And again, talking to that bigger picture. And we were talking about that, filling that hole right away, easing the pain immediately with a solution, versus taking a step back and say, look, let's look at the bigger problem here. Let's see if we can solve it a little bit more holistically, with a tool or a platform that can solve more problems longer term and will grow with you and evolve with you as other problems arise. as opposed to just continually collecting point solutions. Would be my three.
Yeah. So that sounds like you talked a bit about like almost like performing an audit. Hey, let's look at all of our tech stack. Let's list out what they do, and let's just identify.
Right.
And again, I mean, saving $400 or $500, $600 a month for smaller companies
for sure
adds up. Double. I mean, like put some zeros behind that for the bigger companies. That obviously adds up. And I think it's, if somebody just gets the thought of doing an audit out of this, we'll be providing value for them, right? Now, let's go to the other side of that. People getting going, like companies getting started or companies who haven't really gotten really deep into technology or potentially the digital space or whatnot. If you were starting a company or starting a plan, what would you do to identify what you need?
That's a good question. I think it's what you need right now. Having the realization that what you need right now is probably is absolutely, if you're successful, will change. And so asking yourself anytime before you bring on any sort of new technology, is this just right for what right now? Or is it right for where I want to be a year from now, 5 years from now? Now, that doesn't mean you have to have a crystal ball and know exactly where you're going to be. And, should you bring on some behemoth, crazy marketing cloud insanity as a, 2-person startup? Probably not. But, just have that foresight for right now versus where I want to be and what will grow with me. And how can I bring on the least amount of technology as possible? 1, to keep my costs down, 2, to keep my team efficient, and 3, to introduce the least amount of risk as we bring on more and more data and use it more and more. That would be what I would.
No, yeah. And I'm thinking, if you're getting going, I mean, you try to think back because a lot of this happens organically as you start to discover what you need. But the way I'm thinking, if I was starting just fresh, I would say, okay, here's what I want to happen. I want these things to happen. And then you say, okay, I need to find out what's happening. I'm not going to be able to do that on my own.
Right.
SEO, organic, if that's one of your plays, I want to rank. You have to have tools that are going to do that for you.
Right.
If you're going to be doing some high level email marketing or any sort of flows, well, you can't do that, right? So just Goldman's like, this is what I want to happen, and I will tell you, there's probably a solution for you. There's not going to be a solution that's. Let me tell you one solution, not to any sort of automated content production.
Right.
No to that. It's little snippets, AI that can help you along with identifying, but then you got to insert your creativity and your own point of view, and that's where that's. Content is king, right?
For sure.
And then distribution is queen, which is where technology can come in, so potentially, right?
Absolutely.
So, and on this whole note, and you've kind of touched on this a little bit, but I want to ask it in this way because it was very intriguing. I saw you either talk about this or write about it or whatever, but the way you said it was great. And you said people need to stop buying technology and start to invest in solutions. It's a little bit about what we're talking about. So I wanted to kind of just touch on that a little bit here. Again, we kind of talked about it, but I think let me let you state it because I think that might get people in the frame of mind versus I need to get technology. It's like, no, you need a solution.
Right.
Then
absolutely
find the match. But go ahead.
Absolutely. Yes. People need to stop buying technology and invest in solutions. And so let's unpack that a little bit. So our solutions technology. Yes. Are the two terms technology and solutions often used, especially in marketing, synonymously? Yes. But I think quite often, like where we started our conversation, it's really easy to get excited about technology and see it as something that's very exciting and all the possibilities and just the shiny aspects of it. And then think backwards, oh, this is a solution because it's going to help us do these things, as opposed to starting with, this is what I want to do. These are the goals that I have. This is how I want to relate to my audience. This is how I want to up-level my personalization. This is how I want to drive more relevancy or whatever that is. Okay, how am I going to do it? Let me find this technology solutions that'll help me get there, as opposed to finding the technology and then backing into a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I mean there. And I think when you do that, when you go out shopping for technology, you buy it. But when you actually start with a problem and go out and seek a solution, you're investing in what that solution is going to provide for you and for your strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm definitely hearing you, and I love that. And I really hope we're getting people thinking this way, because this is a recent shift that we've had, is to really rely on our or not rely, but mix in your gut a lot more and just think.
Mm-hmm.
Just think. Technology is not going to help you talk to all the employees who know their audience, who know what they've been hearing over the years, who have that intimate feeling of, through their past communications, to be like, and this is one question I've been posing to companies we work with is, ask yourself, what would be cool if whatever, right? What would be cool for audience? What would be a cool experience? Just answer that, and figure that out.
Right.
But it is a balancing act, right? And I would love to see, with you being such into your technology company that is pushing technology. So who also has this mindset, right? So who better to ask this question to? How the heck do we balance gut?
The light in my office just turned off.
That was wild. I like that.
Turned into Halloween real quick on this podcast.
Little horror scene right there. Dark. I'm like, whoa.
See, we're trying to be efficient and save energy. So
there you go. So how do we balance that gut instinct, in your opinion, with technology? Such a fuzzy question and potentially answer. I don't how can we help people who are struggling with this and trying to balance? I know Jay Bears of the world have said, we are pulling back on not data. I know he's huge into data. In fact, he does huge studies. Yeah. But he said, we're pulling back on we're just going to be producing less content, better content. Well, it lends me to believe he's moving more towards the gut versus the data. Not ignoring the data. I'm sure he's writing about stuff based on data, but it just feels like a shift's going that way.
Yeah.
Not all the way if this is scale. I'm talking about here, right? So how help us out here? How do we do?
I'm so glad that you asked that. That's something that I'm passionate about. I mean, actually, we just launched a podcast called Marketer and Machine. So it's all about that marriage between the human elements of marketing and the technology. And is there a magical formula? If there is, I don't know it. But I think just remembering that the marketer is the human and is the creative and is the one creating that. What ultimately, regardless of what the technology does or what it's employed to do, the human, the marketer, is the one who is going to, I believe, make it relevant. Make all that personalization, the tech side of the personalization, feel personal. It's the creative elements of it that actually jump out on the page and that evoke emotion. And so from a technology standpoint, what we advocate for here is, get beyond the hype. We always say here, hype-free, tangible AI should be what you're going for. You should actually be, if you're interested in AI, first and foremost, I don't think you should be out shopping for AI. You should be out looking to solve a problem, and maybe AI is the answer. And more it is becoming part of the answer. But, I think just remember, as you're going out and you are seeking solutions and you're in the marketplace, that they should be helping you and your team of marketers do the human aspects of marketing. The technology should be enabling you. It should be lifting you up higher. It should be a stairway to that next level, not the next level itself. Your customers don't care if you have this or that or this piece of technology. They care how you make them feel. So how are you going to do that? Well, that's a marriage of the marketer and the machine. That's a marriage of the technology and the brain.
Love it.
And what is that ratio? What is that formula? Well, it's different for every company.
Yeah.
But you cannot, I believe, and I think I always will, you can't take the marketer out of it. And you've got to hire brilliant marketers that are passionate about delivering those personalized, meaningful, relevant
just thinking
exchanges. Yes. And then say, like you said, wouldn't it be cool if they get excited about doing it and then say, oh, if we only just had a tool that
maybe there is one, right?
And there it is. And I wonder if our platform, I wonder if our platform can, because it's so cool if, that's the role of the marketer. And I feel like that's what we've been at risk of getting away from as we dig into these technologies. And it's like, the technology is what it's about.
And the irony of it is that's the fun stuff.
Yes. I mean, I didn't get into
we got away from the fun stuff. I kind of got into my doldrums of it all. And just recently I've stepped back and I was just like, this is the fun stuff.
Yeah.
This is like a science project. This is where you're sculpting it all out and saying, how can we tinker with this and do that? But you got to have all that. And then from there, tinkering, that's where technology can come into play.
Right.
Which kind of, as we kind of tie things up here, I want to drive this home. I really feel like we've gotten people's minds in the right place because I know we're all struggling with this.
For sure.
But along the same lines of gut and everything, but just the upfront strategy. Mm-hmm. I'd say in about 18 months, within the last 18 months, I've been hearing more and more about this because I think everybody just went like, I can't take this technology stack anymore. And I gotta just keep up with every trending thing. And all I'm doing is copycatting everybody else, but I don't want to fall behind. And I think everybody finally just it was one of those breaking points as an industry broke and was like, okay, time out. Everybody can start putting out all this content. Now it's now the ads costs going up and all this stuff's happening. What the hell do we need to do?
Yeah.
And I think it was okay, first stop, right? And put 80% of your efforts up front on your strategy. Mm-hmm. I'd just like for you to drive that home if you agree. So if you will, but let's just drive that point home because I think that's going to be one of the more helpful takeaways for people to really, and it's the fun stuff.
Yeah.
So we're not asking anybody to do the gross, analytical stuff if you're not into that just yet. Cause again, there could be tools that help with that,
sure.
And then you fill in your blank. So anyways, let's let you take the floor on that.
Definitely. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I certainly did not get into marketing to manage technology. I didn't get into marketing to crunch numbers. I think I would have done something different if that was my desire. I got into marketing a long time ago before a lot of this stuff existed. I mean, 15 years ago was eons ago in tech speak, but I got into it because I was interested in being creative and creating meaning and communicating value to an audience of people who maybe hadn't experienced it yet, or that I really, really felt like I could make myself or my brand could make a difference with and help solve their problems. That's why I got into marketing, and I don't think I'm alone. And so why would we get away from that? Why would we elect to get ourselves out of what we got into marketing for the sake of technology, right?
We're human beings and we're sheep.
Exactly right. I mean, the more people tell you that this is what it's about and this is the way your job is evolving, I mean, there's a lot of fear mongering. I think even accidental happening right now of what's going to happen to your job? You better become more of a data scientist. And I think for some people that are interested in that, awesome. But I think for the marketer who says, no, I am a creative, I am strategic, I create great content, and there is a future for me in marketing because I am going to stand up and I'm going to find the technology that makes me better at those things.
Yep.
So lean into that and
hire somebody.
Yeah.
If you have the budget, of course, or
exactly.
Outsource it.
And I mean, and it's a different story for everyone. Yeah. I mean, everything from startup to enterprise, there's nothing wrong with being a creative, strategic marketer. Leverage the technology because it exists and it will only become more and more abundant. That helps you do that and do it just so well that the data then will speak for your strategy and will speak for your content, will speak for your creative, and just be careful in the tools that you bring on and make sure that they are going to help you do that. So you're not spending your day managing them. You're spending your day doing what will resonate with your customers.
And I'll tell you, from a business owner, it's much harder to find strategic creatives than it is to offshore data analysis,
Mhm.
or using a tool, and having somebody, okay, this is what I want to find out, report it back to me.
Right.
Globally, there's just lots and lots of people who are doing that stuff. And when I say
Yeah.
creative strategy, I'm not talking about like graphic design.
Yeah.
I'm talking about creative strategy.
Mhm.
The managers like that, people who can think critically and come up with that's just a better, a less unique, a more unique person.
Mhm.
So if you have those people's business, like highlight them, pay
Right.
more for them, and then look to supplement that with some potentially offshore data analysts, because
Or the technology that can do
or
it
the
for you.
technology that can do it for you. Absolutely.
Mhm.
So on that note, as we tie things up here, what's in your stack? And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about the size of Emarsis,
Sure.
so that we can have some context for your marketing stack. And if you did work with another company that was smaller or larger, feel free to kind of chime in, because I'm just kind of try to paint a picture of what makes sense and you're such a fantastic person to answer this question, because you're a technology person, but you have this mindset. So you've probably been pretty, lean yet sufficient with your decision. So
Yeah, sure. So let's see where to start on that. So Emarsis is a global company. We are based in Vienna, Austria. We started in 2000, and so yeah, we're 18 years old, which in the world of marketing and marketing technology we've been around a very, very long
that's
time.
really old.
Yeah, yes, and we've got a team of, at the time of this recording, more than 800 people around the world,
Okay.
and work with more than 2,200 brands.
Okay. So you're a pretty decent sized company.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so, yeah, as far as our offering, I always say that our platform exists to, much of what we've been talking about, connect marketers with their customers in more meaningful and relevant ways. And so what that looks like is through a range of tools. We were built up around our email platform, and as an ESP, it's where our humble beginnings are. So obviously email is a huge part of that, but trying hard to make email more and more interactive, and not the email of even a few years ago. On top of that, we serve up with mobile, so mobile offerings, web channel, so interactive ways to connect with your audience on your website, through CRM ads, so using Facebook and Google ads to grow your audience, and through text. I think I mentioned SMS, so mobile, SMS, email, web channel. I feel like I'm forgetting one.
I assume you're using some analysis for your organic as well, results.
For
just in general, to track how you guys are doing organically.
Oh, for ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant like as Marsis offering. Okay.
Well, I assume you're going to, Marsis alone will be part of your tech stack, because you're going to use your own technology.
Right.
So in the items that you mentioned, Emarsis or another company, or everything you mentioned for a company your size is relevant.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, everything else, I'm just trying to paint a picture of where people should make sure that they probably need to utilize technology. So obviously you mentioned, the SMS, the text messaging, if that's in your flow, automations for email, get a high level CRM that helps. Obviously you're going to need a customer relationship management software, period, for just tasks, notes, keeping track, the Salesforce of the world. You obviously need your organic stuff. These are some of the basics, everybody. We're going through the, then the AI kind of technologies, if you're ready for that, if you know how to utilize it.
Right.
We missing anything? Those are the kind of the basics, right? We talk about social distribution of ads, but that's kind of technology. But you do need to get into the higher level Facebook offerings like Ads Manager, not
Right.
but that's kind of built in. Anything else we're missing? I'm just trying to help people, because then you get into, because that's when you get into all the other stuff, like you don't really need, you could use if you need it.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to give the basics, right? Did we miss anything?
I think I think some people would say we missed some things, and some people would say, "Whoa, slow down." So I think it all
Yes.
depends.
Yes.
If there's a startup. I mean, I've worked for myself. I've worked in a startup of less than 30 people, all the way up to Emarsys is a global company with
Mm-hmm.
nearly 1,000 people. All those needs are different, and so sometimes you can squeeze a lot into a bit of technology. Other times, maybe you do need more. And so I don't think there is any certain number of things like you need 5 pieces of technology. Like, I think it depends. If you're doing a ton, like my team's doing a lot of content marketing, and we have different needs than a team of one, like one content marketer that's doing 10 other things. So I would say, instead of trying to come up with a kind of one size fits all list, I would just go back again to that. Take a look at the problems you're trying to solve, the strategy you're trying to execute, the human element of it, what you're trying to achieve, and like last step, what technology do we need to make it happen?
I love it. No, I love it. All right. Before I have to let you go, I want you to dust off your crystal ball, and let's normally ask people to make a prediction. Let's center this around AI.
Okay.
Tell me where AI is going.
Oh, goodness.
Give me a 6 and a 12-month snapshot here, because I know those. I feel like we need to have like a half a year and a year, because this is coming.
Sure. Well, I'll preface this with, I am a marketer, not an AI product manager or anyone who's actually developing our products. So I'm speaking from the lens of a marketer. But I think, we were talking earlier about personalization and the growing expectations of consumers. We are all consumers. And if you even just take a look at what you expect and what you consider to be a good, not even great, but just good customer experience, what does that look like? And how have your expectations changed just even over the last 6 to 12 months, looking backwards? I think that more and more companies are going to find ways to catch up to that and just commit even more to building those relationships and doing whatever it takes to deliver really great experiences. And that's going to look different for everyone. Different companies of different means are going to have different abilities to deliver on that. But I think that that's going to increase in priority. And again, from an AI perspective, I think it's just going to become more, I was going to say ubiquitous, but we're not there yet. Just more a part of what we're all doing, right? So it already is, as consumers and as just people using the internet and interacting with each other. But I think the technology is just going to become more available to marketers, as we even just do email. Like you mentioned, we do a lot of that here. And in what ways can we leverage new technologies to just deliver more personalized, more relevant, more real-time experiences?
And so what do we, again, this is a prediction, but I'm just curious, when do we think we're going to hit that more mainstream, not the trade show usages of the VR and AI and stuff.
Yeah.
And there is some happening with, dynamic chatbots that are, pulling stuff. When do you think? You think we're a year away? You think we're 2 years away where it hits the mainstream?
Well, I think it depends on what you're talking about. So AI is huge. AI is massive. It's not, a thing. It's part. It's not the cake. It's an ingredient, right? And so it's an ingredient that can be used in lots and lots of different recipes.
Okay.
So, it's already there in many, many, many ways that we experience both as marketers and as consumers, whether we realize it or not. It is absolutely there. I would say just at a baseline level, is it already in the marketplace? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Our clients use it every single day.
All right.
But in some of the other more advanced ways, I think it's just going to be incremental, just constantly on an upward trajectory.
Well, I'm curious to see where it's going, because it's intriguing as hell, right? It's
absolutely.
It's crazy.
I'm excited to experience it as a marketer and as a consumer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to ask you how people continue to learn from you, but if you are, wanting to learn more about the marketer and the tech, I strongly suggest you listen to Lindsay's podcast coming up here, Emarsys' podcast. But how can people continue to learn from you all?
Sure. So in a couple of ways, as you just mentioned, our podcast, you can learn more about Marketer and Machine, which is available. You can learn more at emarsys.com/podcast. It's probably the best place to go for Amarsis content and more on AI marketing and in much more depth than I'm able to get into from a marketing perspective, and all things related to marketing. You can go to amarsis.com, also our website, and search around in there. We've got a great content hub that we are adding to every day. And then for me in particular, I'm on Twitter at Blueprint MKT, like Blueprint Marketing. And yeah, I'm publishing at amarsis.com all the time.
Awesome. And Amarsis is, for the listeners here,
Yes.
EMARSYS.
Correct.
All right, Lindsay, I really enjoyed this, and I know we probably helped set the record straight on some things, because it is a thing, and I think it's it's something that people struggle with, and if we let others know that we all are looking to really think this through and be efficient with our technologies and potentially add some new ones that might solve problems. So thank you so much, Lindsay, and until next time.
Thank you so much, David.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the latest podcast. Feel free to go to magnificent.com/blog to see the show notes for this interview, as well as those from many other of the world's top marketing experts. Have a great day.